What's up, beautiful people? It's your boy Judeo, and I'm back again with a new video. Today, we're bringing Candace Owens back to the channel. We're going to be checking out her clip. This one is titled "Calling Beyonce a Queen is Insulting." The title is quite intense, or very intense, but I'm interested to see the points she's going to raise and what she's going to be talking about. So, without wasting your time, let's get to it.
Question: who is your queen? I'm thinking about that because I've obviously, like many of you, been watching Queen Elizabeth's state funeral, but also watching the mixed reaction to it. I have to say, I am pretty amazed. I'm sure you too are following the backlash from the more woke crowd because everything is an opportunity to tell Black people that they should be upset, right? They referred to Queen Elizabeth as a colonist, a murderer. Okay, I'm not really interested in defending those positions. I easily could, but I'm more interested in covering the stark contrast regarding the individuals who attacked her and their positions on previous things that have occurred within Black America. Ready? So the first person, obviously, I'd like to talk about, which you probably heard about because the timing of her tweet was just incredible. It felt like moments after we learned that Queen Elizabeth had passed, she felt it was necessary to send a vicious, disgusting tweet. This is a professor, of course, it's always a professor, at Carnegie Mellon. Her name is Uju Anya, and she tweeted this. I heard
Uju Anya sounds like a Nigerian name. Uju.
The chief monarch of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating.
Ooh, that's quite intense for anybody. Like, that's really, really deep for anybody.
Want to focus on that word raping, right? Because apparently you have to assume that rape bothers her, but you shouldn't assume that. Because do you remember Jacob Blake? Do you remember the Black man who police officers were attempting to apprehend? His charges were as follows. He essentially, to give you the backstory in case you don't remember it, it was a woman that he was involved with, a Black woman who had called the police to the scene over a domestic dispute. She had previously accused him of sexual assault, and he was not supposed to be near her, but he was back and confronting her, and she called police to assist her, obviously, because he had a warrant out for his arrest for that previous sexual assault. Police said that he had a knife when they arrived, and police told him to drop the knife. He did not drop the knife, and a knife was eventually recovered from that scene. By the way, I want to be more explicit here. He was accused of digitally raping that woman who called police to the scene. So you would think that Uju Anya would have something to say about that, and she did have something to say. What she said was, Jacob Blake is a family man. She went on to say, his sister, Letitra Widman, reminds us all that he has people, and he is somebody's people. No image you paint of him erases that. No story you tell alleging his lack of worth justifies the crime police committed against him. Wow. Okay, so she doesn't care that a woman called and obviously was scared for her life. She doesn't care that a woman has accused him of sexual assault. She doesn't care that a woman has accused him of digitally raping her, because nothing that you could possibly say could denigrate Jacob Blake in her mind. Who cares if he was a knife-wielding maniac? It doesn't matter, because, I don't know, Black Americans should see him as some sort of a brave hero. I guess see him as a victim. This happens over and over and over again. I have to ask the question, who are the people that we are told that we should feel badly for? Who are the people that we are...
But I don't understand the context of digital raping. What is digital raping? Is it something on like the media or... Yeah, I don't understand that.
are told that we should celebrate. Who are our kings and queens? Not far behind, of course, was the Washington Post. This is a tweet from columnist Karen Ataya regarding Queen Elizabeth's passing. She wrote, Black and brown people around the world who were subject to horrendous cruelties and economic deprivation under British colonialism are allowed to have feelings about Queen Elizabeth. After all, they were her subjects too. Okay, so the idea here is obvious. Black Americans have been subjected to horrendous cruelties under British colonialism. Got it, Karen. Now, what were her thoughts on George Floyd? If you want to talk about Black Americans that suffered under the hands of somebody, George Floyd would be an interesting topic to discuss, the George Floyd death. She tweeted this.
So the way she's trying to establish patterns, somebody might say this is attack on credibility, because now when she's reading the tweet, she's going back to see what they felt on other topics or other subjects. So I don't know, is this attack on credibility? Yeah, but I get her point. So calling Beyonce a queen is insulting. This is in context to the queen passing. That's what she's trying to explain. So that's where she's going. I suppose.
I will never forget that George Floyd called out for his late mother in the moments before he died, and the whole world responded. We got you, Big Floyd. Well, first off, fact check. I should mention that regarding calling out for his mama, his girlfriend, who was white, testified on the stand that she was mama, that he called her mama affectionately, and he had done so in previous arrests, which you will see in my George Floyd documentary, which is going to be dropping soon. But Karen took it a step further. Karen also tweeted, George Floyd better get Times Person of the Year. Okay, so just so I'm clear here, Queen Elizabeth is a horrendously cruel person under which Black people have suffered around the world. But George Floyd better get Times Person of the Year. George Floyd, how many arrests did he have? Was I think 9 in total for various crimes.
Lots of people are really gonna hate this. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that the documentary is out now and it's very controversial. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I should. Guys, let me know. Should I go see it? Do you think it's interesting? But yeah, she's been speaking on this issue for quite some time, and people believe she shouldn't be saying this. Some people attack her, like real attack. Hopefully she has enough security. But I don't know my take on this topic. I really don't know. I can't say anything because the way she's sounding, like she has like all the facts to back what she's saying. So I don't know that. I can't say if she's wrong. But one thing I can say is, let the man rest. That's what I can say.
A lot of drug charges. Obviously, drugs have been a huge problem in Black America. Criminality, remember when he knocked on a woman's door, pretended to be from the water department. He had a towering figure. I think he was 6'7", forced his way into her apartment, put a gun to her abdomen and robbed the place. Yeah. He better get Time Person of the Year. This is constantly the message that is coming down the pipeline for Black America. We need to celebrate criminals, but when we talk about somebody with a life and a legacy of Queen Elizabeth, well, she's white, so we better see ourselves and perceive ourselves as the victims. Nobody cares about how Black American culture has been suffering. Nobody cares about the inner city communities that have been suffering under people like George Floyd, right? The criminality that is running rampant, people that are getting arrested and released back onto the streets. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to talk about it. In fact, if you do talk about it, you're a racist, right? That's it. You're a racist. If you talk about it and you're a Black person, okay, they won't call you racist. Instead, they will call you, as they have called me, a coon, an Uncle Tom, a traitor to my race, because I have the audacity to talk about.
I've heard that. People have called her that. People are still calling her that.
The things that are harming us, an overtly sexual community, right? We have been told that our value is somehow tied to our sexuality. Yeah, let's make fun of people like Candace Owens who are talking about how songs like WAP are harming young Black girls as they are coming up.
How did you hear it though?
Right? Harming. It is harmful to hear music like that. Thoughts become things. It's harmful to put that stuff onto TV and to have
That's
women
true.
glorifying that, to have young girls going to this concert and saying this is a good thing. So who is our queen in Black America? Who is our king? Is our king George Floyd? Is that it? Because I don't remember any of these professors and journalists commenting on the fact that he got 3 funerals and was buried in a gold casket. That was our state funeral, so to speak. But everyone was okay with that. Nobody cared about the horrific things that he did throughout his life because it wasn't politically expedient. It didn't create the narrative enough for them of white people bad, Black people always good. Nobody cares to comment on the state of things in Black America. We worship who? Beyonce is the queen, right? Beyonce, queen, slay, bae. And what's coming down to young women from her? This is an example, by the way, of Beyonce in a campaign. Ivy Park Adidas. Ivy Park is her brand. Adidas has acquired it. They're in some partnership. I want you to actually take a look at this clip of her squatting down, right? Opening her legs ajar and putting a finger into her mouth as she wears tight spandex. Here's my question. Why? When someone bounces and opens their crotch, does that make you want to buy the product more? It's a serious question. I'm sure Black America will watch this clip and say, oh my God, Candace, you're so prude. Oh my God, who cares? She slayed the day. That's Beyonce. She's bae. She's queen. She slayed it. Why? Is Beyonce not talented enough and beautiful enough to get us to buy her gym kit without having to be seductive, without having to be overtly sexual?
Candace Owens is cold. Like, this is intense, bro. Yeah, zero filters, man. Zero. She just goes in on anybody.
I actually think that it denigrates her talent. She has a beautiful voice. She's had a long career.
This is different.
And yet this is the way that we have to sell stuff in Black America, apparently. This is what we view to be queen.
But I get her points, though. I get her points. We can't just say she's stuck in trash. I do get her points.
This is the sorts of people that we think should have multiple funerals should they die, right? This is a problem. Think about even the partnerships, which I find to be strange, when we have rappers that take on partnerships with fast food companies. For example, Megan Thee Stallion, she has hot sauce at Popeyes. We have Uber Eats, which has offered Migos to have a themed Popeyes meal. We have Sweetie and Travis Scott, who have partnerships with McDonald's. So fast food, right? When they think of going into partnerships with Black America, it's fast food. Hey, you can have chicken. You can have Popeyes. You can have hot sauce. This is what you Black people like, right? It's insulting. I find all of it to be insulting.
But it's also a win on the other side, though, you know, kind of like a business win. Don't you think so?
And of course, what people want you to do is to focus on anything but real Black history, right? They don't want to talk to you about the state and governance, the over-governance that is happening in Black America. When I get on a stage and I talk about the welfare system, when I talk about how for Democrats, Black America has provided a lab rat experiment, right? They went back into the 1960s and they saw a Black American culture that was together. That is what happened in the 1960s. Black Americans were married. Black Americans had their families together. Black Americans, believe it or not, this is a fact, in the 1950s, under Jim Crow, Black Americans were outpacing white Americans in terms of economic growth because we had better values, because we had a better culture. And then they saw this. Lyndon Baines Johnson, who is an overtly racist president who sat in the White House, said we have to fix that. And how they fixed it was via the Great Society Act. They offered Black Americans welfare benefits. They said, we're here to help. We're the government. We're here to help you. But here's what you're going to have to do to get those welfare benefits. We'll give you more money if you don't marry the father of your children. They sent people from the government around to inspect homes to make sure that Black men were not living in them.
I think the first time I heard of Candace Owens, the first time I heard her speak was about welfare, but I didn't really get it at the time. Now that just what she said briefly, it makes sense. Like, it really does make sense. Because people tend to cut like short clips and say welfare is not good. She's speaking against welfare. So the narrative was different when I heard it. But I feel like that makes sense though, you know. If you give them welfare, give them money and say you don't have to marry the father of your child, you separate the family and then the child doesn't grow rightly or the child doesn't go to school and does the stuff a child is supposed to do, then becomes a menace to society.
To make sure that they furthered the single motherhood rate. And every other ill has followed, obviously. Father absence is the main thing that is harming Black America. It is something to be noted that in the 1960s, the single motherhood rate was just 23% in Black America. And during those times, that was considered a crisis. 23% of Black children growing up without a father in the home. Today, the single motherhood rate is something like 74% in Black America. And so you ask the question, why so many Black men are locked up, without asking the question is how many of them grew up with fathers in the home? These things have a lot to do with one another. But nobody wants to talk about that. No, it doesn't matter. It's just racism is the reason that they're in prison. It's not because of a rotten culture. It's not because of WAP. It's not because of nudity. It's not because of overt sexuality. It's not because we are only seen as a community that can further things like fast food. That's the partnership. That's great. You're a rapper. Hey, I'm going to want a chicken sandwich. None of that is racist. None of that is harmful. No, absolutely not. The issue is Queen Elizabeth. It's Queen Elizabeth and historical racism. And that's what we should be upset about. The issue is not the fact that we're getting arrested, but the ways in which the police are dealing with us. Let's talk about police brutality instead of talking about why it is that we are having so many correspondences with police. Why it is that Black American men, specifically young Black American men, are overrepresented when it comes to murders in this country. Talking about something like 6% of the population that commits about 40% of all of the murders. Don't talk about that, Candace. We don't like the facts. We do not like that. It is harmful for you to aspire to something better, Candace. To believe in Black America is what's wrong with you. So we're going to call you a race traitor because this apparently is the best that we have to offer. And that's a shame. All right, guys, the next portion of the show is going to be available exclusively.
Candace Owens. You know what I like to watch her? Like I always say, she's going to raise a discussion that nobody else wants to talk about. She's up for the smoke. Like she's ready for it. And she has points to back it up. We can't just, it's the word invalidate, or we can't just cancel or scratch everything she said. Because she has points. She was like dropping some points there that I think are valid points. But that was very, very good though. Let me know what you think about the whole Migos. That was interesting to me because the way I used to say or the way I say this, if the bigger companies are trying to collaborate with you, then it's a win. But also she raised the points that why is it fast food? Like, are you trying to sell that to the Black community? You know, like it does make sense. It does make sense. And the last point, I think she said, instead of focusing on police brutality, focus on why something. I'm not trying to like quote her here. I'm just trying to like paraphrase. He said, focus on why Black people are even getting in that situation in the first place, which is a good point. Very, very nice. Yeah, the points were quite intense, can touch you in very deep places. But, you know, we need people like this to keep talking, people like this to raise the discussion, to break those tables nobody wants to break. You know, we need people to scatter those tables, and that's what she's doing right now. Yeah, if you have more valid points that can counter her points, feel free to drop it in the comment section. If she said something that you think wasn't right, also let us know in the comment section. You know, I'm not saying we have to accept her point. We don't even have to understand it, but we have to let her express herself, and we have to listen, right? Anyways, that's the end of this video. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you on the next one. Have a wonderful day. Peace.